All right, what's up everyone, to another video, Full Speed Impulse, and today we are starting to build on our Klx110L, and it's time to get this thing all dialed in for our buddy. So first things first, today in this video, we're gonna be tackling the front forks and getting these upgraded to heavy duty springs. They have just the stock springs in them right now. Probably never had the fluid change, and they are totally clapped out. They don't even support the own weight of the bike, let alone the rider too. As you can see, his bike is totally beat. It's got a blown out rear shock. It's got a blown motor, or something's going on because it sucked in a bunch of mud, which is no bueno. So the motor's definitely hurt. So we got a big bore and a couple of carb and hop ups on that. And it should be a good build. We also have some other upgrades for this. We're upgrading the tires, and we also have to do something about our rear rim. The front rim is good, but the back rim is completely bent up. The TB parts rims are still out of stock for the rear. This bike does have some good things about it. It has an FMF exhaust. It has a nice BBR tall seat on it. It has your XR50 Pro Taper bars on here, which is a great pit biking bar. So it definitely has a little potential. Also has an extended shift lever on that side. So a little loving, and this bike will be pretty dialed in. We have rear shock, front forks, big bore kit, wheels, tires. We're gonna get this thing dialed in. All right, to get back on track, here is the forks that came in from TB Parts. Let's check these things out. The nice thing about these forks too, sounds like Christmas when you're opening them, is there you got oil in them. These things are ready to go. Undo your old ones, put these in, and you're good to go. It's that simple. Couple torque specs, and we'll be right there. And let's get these things installed. Right, first things first, you're gonna want to put your bike on a stand, so that's gonna help your front end float. Also, put like some blocks or a jack behind the back tire, because when you take that off, your bike's gonna want to kick back. You could also put a strap going across if you just want to hold the bike like that. Several different methods you could do what you want, but let's get at it. I say I want to add about TB part forks is that they have several different forks you could pick from. Whether you have a stock Klx110 and you just want Klx110 forks, you can do that. Now, if you want to turn your Klx110 into a Klx110L, they sell forks like that. That will bump it up to the stock height of a Klx110L. Just like they have stock forks for a Klx110L, which would be the same ones. Or you could get the biggest fork, which is for the Klx110L, which will bump it up an extra 10 millimeters from the stock height, which would be an extra 44 millimeters from the standard Klx110 height. And no one's saying that you can't put those on there. You're probably just going to have to put some longer cables on. If you're worried about the height being too tall, don't worry, because you can always ride your fork up a little bit high if it seems a little too high in the front, and still keep that travel of the movement of the fork. Should simply be able to pull the forks out pretty easily. You can see now, even though we have so much more weight off the front of the bike, see how it stays still? That's why you put the jack on the back. If you didn't have that there, she would fall over. All right, as you see when we pull the forks out, it was a little dirty in here. Your bike might be the same way, or it might be super clean. I don't know. Just use a little WD-40, a little light solvent, oil-based lubricant, and you should be good. Don't put any heavy grease or anything in here. You don't need to go that extreme with it. All right, so now you're ready to put your new fork on. Make sure you do put the right side on the right side. This right here is for the left side of the bike, because you can see right here, this is where you're gonna remount your little cable bracket. So let's get at it. So all you're gonna do is slide it in. It might give you a little fight, but all you gotta do is take a screwdriver in here and wedge it a little bit, and it'll spread open. Just work that way, work its way up. You're just gonna wanna flush it up here. Just like that. And it will hopefully stay where it's at. If it doesn't, just tighten these bolts down a little bit. Don't go too crazy, because we still gotta give you those torque specs. Same process, right side of the bike. Slide right up in there. And probably not the worst idea to tighten these up just a smudge so these don't fall down while you're in the garage searching for your next tool. And hit the ground, chip up your brand new paint job. Beat them up in the trails, not in the garage. Our upper clamp bolts we will be tightening at 15 foot-pounds, which is 180 inch-pounds of torque. And then the lower clamp bolts is 22 foot-pounds or 264 inch-pounds of torque. So let's get at it. All right, so first things first, before you start really tightening stuff down, you want to make sure that these are even. You don't want these to be uneven, or that'd be no bueno. So I'm going to go right there before it, you kind of see on these here where they kind of bevel up just a little bit. We're going to do that. And then what you want to do is that you don't want to tighten these, just like crank this one all the way down, torque specs, crank this one. You want to do a cross pattern. So right now we're just going to snug up doing a cross pattern. So then we'll come down here, snug that up. Then we're going to come across, snug that, come back up here. And this is a 10, and this is a 14. All right, so we got our torque wrench set at 264 inches, which is pretty much maxing this thing out. And just make sure when you go to start tightening this stuff, that, this one's always a little tricky. Okay, just make sure when you go to start tightening this stuff that if your torque wrench clicks right away, that's the type that you have, that you should probably loosen that bolt up a little bit and try retorquing it because you might have already torqued it too much. And same rules apply, guys. Still do that crisscross pattern. Don't let it click. And sometimes to help this, oops. All right, so same rules apply. We're still going to do the crisscross, so it might be a little more time consuming unless you have 2 torque wrenches. But we're going to set this back down to 180. Yep, 180 inch-pounds. Oop, that already clicked. All right, not too shabby. And actually, thinking about it even more now, actually just set this at 180 inches to save you some time and work your way across. If you start at the big number down here, then you have to dial it back. But if you were to start at the smaller number, being 180 inch-pounds, then you could tighten these and then come back to these with the bigger number. See? Click. That's good. And this one is such a pain in the butt sometimes. All right, that one already clicked. So now, these clicks, those are already tight. We're going to juice this up to 264. 264. Woo. All right. That is torque to spec. We're almost done. We're ready to get this thing complete. Make sure you throw a little grease on that axle before you slide that thing in. Ours is dry for sure. And if you haven't noticed already, normally what you would do is you take some steel wool, you clean this up, double check your bearings, make sure everything's good. Since you do have this off already, we plan on coming back to this because like I said, we need some fresh wheels on this thing because this is no bueno, plus this cable is seized. But we do need to be able to roll this thing around the garage until we come out with that next video. So we are going to get it set up for you guys. Plus, you guys get to see it, the new forks on. See, easy peasy. Everything still lines up good. There is nothing difficult about this install. All right, because I know you guys love torque specs. 32 foot-pounds on the axle nut. Oops. Ooh, gosh. Now, because this guy here only goes to about 265, we're just going to give it a little extra and call that good. All right, guys, that's it all buttoned up, and it looks pretty darn good. All right, so on a previous video we did install on these forks, you guys had a couple questions about them. So after using these forks for about a year, what I can say is that these forks are a smudge on the softer side. We had BBR stiff springs in our stock forks, and it was pretty stiff. But then we went to this, it was a little softer, but with the extra travel, it felt really good. And we do a lot of aggressive trail riding. We don't do any MX with this bike, which if I was doing that and being a heavier rider like myself, that would probably become an issue where we'd have to maybe put 20 weight into the forks instead of, it says it comes with 15, and maybe put a couple washers in there just to stiffen that spring up. But you do have options, and overall it is a great value performance fork. I mean, for that price, you really can't beat anything because you're only a couple bucks more extra from what it costs putting just BBR springs in your stock forks. So I still highly recommend these forks. They have a lot of adjustability in them to be able to make them stiffer if that's what you need. All right, guys, but that's it for today's video. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like so you don't miss out on our sweet Klx110 build, because this bike is going to be pretty awesome when it's done. So I appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.